Welcome back to our 4-part webinar series entitled Transforming to a Digital PMO with AI. My name is Maria Hellner, and I'm going to be the facilitator for all 4 of these events. I'm delighted to welcome back our 4 subject matter experts joining us today to be a part of this panel discussion series. Today we have Rich Weller of MIGSOP Cubed. Then we have Karen Norris, also of MIGSOP Cubed, who is a seasoned PMO consultant. We also have Arwin Adityavarna of Assembly AI, and then Alec Rogers, also of Assembly AI, as a growth manager. Thank you all so much for being here to share your insights and experience with all of us today. So, the topic for today's webinar is the next frontier in PMO productivity, the AI team member explained. So today I would like to start with questions from last week's session. Karen, we polled our audience from last week with the question of, at what level does your PMO consistently leverage technology to drive efficiency and effectiveness? Are you able to share those results today and tell us what you think about the data?
Yes, Maria, let me see here. Okay, so I hope everybody can see the results here. And looking at them, you know, the categories align with the CMMI, and we can see that 50% fell into the first 2 levels. So initial, ad hoc, planned, and repeatable. And 35%, so the largest individual area, felt they were defined and organized. It's really great to see the confidence and high level response that we have here. However, one of the things that I find pretty interesting is that at MIGSOP Cubed, we have a digital PMO assessment that we use, and it has 20 questions. It covers the areas of strategy, customer, people, culture, process, tools, data, and governance, and OKRs. We roll up all of these results of the 20 questions from the 6 areas. And from that, we have seen in the organizations that we do assess that the response here may be a bit high. So I'm glad the confidence, but I do wonder if we're a little more confident than we truly are.
Yeah, Karen, if I could add to that as well. I've actually been involved with a few of those digital PMO assessments, and again, there's 20 different questions. We go down to a lower level of detail. We're inspecting those 6 different areas, and we're able to ask more finite questions and quantify those a little bit more. And again, just like you stated, what we've seen in our larger digital PMO assessments is that the scores tend to fall a little more towards the left or the lower scale than the more advanced. So yeah, I agree with your perception there, your interpretation.
Thank you both so much. And then Karen, we also had a second question in our webinar last week, which was, what is the primary challenge you're currently facing within your PMO? Can you share some insights from that poll as well?
Yeah, and thank you everybody that responded to the poll. It is definitely helpful in us creating these webinars and making sure we're hitting your topics. So we had a lot of different responses, but there were 3 main challenges that kept showing themselves. So the first one being many manual processes. The second challenge, lack of integrated data, siloed information. And then number 3 was the inability to make decisions quickly. So I understand from these challenges why everybody signed up for this webinar. They are exactly the challenges that Transforming to a Digital PMO tackles. The tools, the digital tools that we now have access to, they reduce manual repetitive processes. Think automation, back to last webinar that we were talking about. Automating some of those processes is a simple thing now. A couple of clicks and something that would take a person, 15 minutes and longer is short. The tools, they can integrate data by gathering the information from multiple sources and making it easy to share in real time. Again, a couple clicks of a button and you have all the data at your fingertips. And this leads to quicker decision making because we can focus on the collaboration and the analysis instead of having to spend a lot of time gathering all of that data. So this transformation, this digital PMO really is a solution to a lot of these challenges. And then taking it to the next, having AI as a team member is going to help us overcome these challenges even more efficiently.
Yeah, Karen, again, back to you, back to those summarized results there. Many manual processes and lack of integrated data, inability to make decisions quickly. I'd like to tell one, again, we've helped many organizations inside of PMOs. I'd just like to tell one scenario which we actually helped or improved all of these areas. So it started off, it was a very manual process, and also we had the lack of ability for any kind of integrated reporting. So we actually put together a little form for the organization in which individuals were able to complete that form. We had a workflow in behind that form, which picked up that data, moved it over, and made that data available, and which we could then create a dashboard, a dynamic dashboard hitting that data and make that dashboard information available to the right people with the right permissions. And so in essence, we were able to automate a process, and it was real time, that data moving across through the automation and making it visible to our end users, who could then use that data, the information that was being rendered on that dashboard, and make quick, educated decisions based upon real-time data that was, well, I think was refreshed. The dashboard was refreshed every 60 seconds. So yeah, real-world scenario right there, hitting on all three of those high-level points that you brought up, or that you summarized from the comments from last week.
Amazing. Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Rich. And then Rich, while everybody is submitting their responses, I have a question for you. Can you help us understand the concept of AI as a team member and how that leads to this idea of the next frontier in PMO productivity?
Sure, Maria, I can do that. No, I'd love to. But first, we have to define, well, what does AI mean? And as I mentioned in last week's session, if you were to go Google, like, what is the definition of AI? I'm telling you, in your first 6 or 8 responses, you're going to get 6 or 8 different answers. There, from what we're seeing, there is no exact agreed upon defined definition of AI. But with that being said, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go with the definition from Britannica. Seems like a reputable source. I like this definition. From Britannica, they say artificial intelligence, or AI, is the ability of a digital computer or computer-controlled robot to perform tasks commonly associated with intelligent beings. I like that definition. So going off that, using that as a definition of AI, now let me build off the concept that Arwin gave us last week. So Arwin, you talked about years ago, when the calculator was first introduced, the calculator comes in and it helps us. How does it help us? Well, it helps us to improve that process, or the process of solving, a more complex calculation by leveraging the calculator. And it also improves our decision making with more accurate results. But guess what? You still need what we call the human in the loop to work with that technology. So let me go up the AI complexity model just a little bit, and think about your more modern email systems that you're working with today. Whether you're using Outlook or whether you're using Gmail, you all know that as you begin typing a response or typing out an email, or shoot, I even caught this inside of Word just yesterday as I was typing a sentence, that the technology is like using that, it's looking at what you're writing, and it's being predictive, and it's giving you a proposed response, like to simply add, and you can just hit tab, and if it's the right response, you can hit tab and accept that. But you see these, and again, you can see these algorithms at play, the AI algorithms at play, and they're making suggestions on the words or even the response that it thinks that you are about to make. But it's still, think of it again, still like a team member as you're talking or interacting with the team member, and that team member is kind of making suggestions to you. You as an individual, you still need to work with that team member or this technology. You still need to input your true desired response, right? And then if we move up, again, if we move over to this new concepts around natural language processing tools driven by AI technology, and what are we talking about here? Maybe something like Chat GPT. I'm hoping that everybody on the call has begun integrating Chat GPT into your daily usage, just like we have integrated a calculator into our daily world. I'm hoping you've had an opportunity to begin working with Chat GPT, and that you can input a prompt and you're going to get a response back that feels just like it came from a human. But just like working with an individual, just like working with a team member, sometimes you have to provide more details or ask for some clarifying questions or ask for some clarifying information or maybe ask your question in a little bit different way, just like you do with a human. Like that's what we do with a human when we're interacting with a human. And the last example that I'd like to give you, and that's how you need to work with Chat GPT. If you haven't figured that out, you have to sometimes redirect it and say, no, give me this, tell it in this way, give me this answer, tweak it this way. But the last example that I'd like to give you, it actually relates to one of the AI technologies that Karen mentioned last week when we were asked about what type of technology are we seeing being used, and that is Sembly AI. And as their website says, and I'll quote this, it says, Sembly AI is the smartest assistant for project and program managers that's out there. And our organization has been working with Sembly since it was first released. And over the years, just like any other team member that I've worked with, what I've discovered, or what we've discovered, is it has its strengths and it has its weaknesses, just like our team members do. And what we have to do as individuals working with our team members, we have to focus on taking our team members' strengths and capitalizing upon those strengths. And that's why I say that working with AI is like working with another team member.
Great, thank you so much, Rich. So we kind of segued into this topic of understanding Sembly AI and what it can do. So Alec, let me call upon you now. At a high level, can you explain to us what Sembly AI is?
Of course, I would be happy to. So to take a step back at the highest level, Sembly AI is a conversation intelligence company. And what we are offering is, much like Rich said, a smart AI team assistant for project and for program managers. So when you are using Sembly, your teammate, your AI assistant, will join your online meetings, really just like any human attendee does. But we're going to handle a lot of the things that consume time, both during and after the meeting, so that your team can be fully present on these calls. And while we will provide you with things like a meeting recording and a transcript of that discussion, this isn't really where the magic is. So the real magic is in AI-generated insights. And these are built for project teams to not only isolate the most important parts of the meetings that you're having so frequently, but also to quickly act on them. Think follow-up emails, manual entry into task management tools, keeping your own colleagues internally updated on the status of a project. Now, if we imagine what it would be like for AI to streamline all of these things for you, you might be imagining something much like what we're doing here at Sembly. And as far as project management goes specifically, it's a space that our founders have been in for decades. So we really have built a platform that is both relevant and connected to your work, to your day-to-day. So in addition to auto-generating meeting notes, auto-generating tasks as a result of your meeting, we can now push these items into the tools that you're using for task management and the tools that really keep the PMO running in harmony and in a futuristic way. And because AI has perfect recall, everything said on a meeting with your customers, with your colleagues, is now a valuable piece of information for your team to act on that is discoverable in a really, really easy way. So you can use Assembly in confidence, knowing that none of that information is getting lost. And this is something Arwin and I are excited to tell you more about. Thank you.
Thanks for that overview, Alec. Arwin, I'm wondering if you can take us maybe just a little bit deeper so that all of us in the audience can understand the benefits of Assembly AI, perhaps over other meeting minute products.
Of course, happy to do so, Maria. Yeah, so just to expand a little bit more from what Alec already shared with us about what is Assembly AI. Now, I want to describe Assembly AI more towards something that we face day to day for you as a team member, for you as the leader or the manager of your team, and also for you as the organization as a whole. So first of all, I think a lot of us face back-to-back meetings every day. Sometimes we have to prioritize one meetings over the other, and when we do so, we will be worried about whether or not we will miss information from other meetings that we couldn't attend. So that's a big problem because again, it will kind of like roll out into a lot of many different problems. Like Karen mentioned earlier, the problem people are facing about manual tasks, and then again, making decisions because we don't have enough information to make the decisions. And if we skip on meetings, we don't have that information that can actually help us to make decisions. Now, let me ask you, most of the time when you couldn't attend a meeting, what will other team members do? So I believe they will probably record the meeting and then share the recording with you. But again, if you couldn't attend the meeting at the first time, at the first place, how can you make the time to actually review that recording? And if you skim over the recording, there might be some important information, important nuggets that you could miss out. So with Assembly, like Alec mentioned, we're not only providing the transcription and the recording of the meeting, but we also provide you with the insight, with the key points of the meeting. So the AI is actually smart enough to understand the context of the meeting, different meeting types, and capture those critical information that really important, that really matters to you. Like Rich mentions, the way you see the AI is like you see another team member. People can capture the information that is relevant to you, that is important to you. Now, back to the point about manual tasks. With Assembly in your palm or in your computer or in your meeting in this case, you have that information and you have that confidence, everything will be recorded and you get the information that you need, meaning that you can focus more into the conversation. You can be more creative. You can be in the conversation to actually connect with your team member to discuss things that are more important without worry about taking notes or consolidating the notes or sharing information with other team members. Now, the second part, as the team leader or as the manager, many times you have to connect with different individuals within your team to gather those information. And also sometimes you wonder, what is the project status? Where are we at right now? And you like to have that predictability to understand what could happen next. What are the issues? What are the risks that we are facing right now? Now, with Assembly, what we help you with, since we capture all those key points from the conversation, from the meetings, from your team, as a leader, as a manager, you can easily monitor, you can easily get those information so you are aware of the status of your project, the status of your team, so you know and you can be more proactive. You can act faster without waiting for something to happen. So that's another additional benefit. And for organization as a whole, if you think about having all of those knowledge library, the meetings that sit on Assembly Meeting Cloud, anytime you need to find information, you can quickly search on it, find it. And again, it's like a time machine. You can go back in time to find the detailed conversation, the detailed part that everybody shares. So you know for sure, without relying on your memory, with certainty, you get the information that you need. And on top of that, with Assembly and similar to the GPT capability that Rich mentioned, if you know how to ask the right question, it really is AI is your additional team member because you can ask questions and it can give you the output, the answer that is relevant, that is precisely what you're looking for. If it's not the answer that you're looking for, again, to the point that Rich made earlier, you can rephrase your question, just like with other humans, clarify some other information as with other human beings, and you might be able to get that information. And again, the benefit of using AI, or more specifically with Assembly AI, you save a lot of time in doing so. And again, this ties back to the benefit of improving processes, improving decision making, and generating insights. And that's not the end, because again, if you think about it, all the information that you have within your meeting cloud, within your knowledge library, what kind of insights you can get. Because you can get it, the business insight, like building your BI dashboard, your analytics, because again, you can analyze to the very granular detail, which previously almost impossible or take a lot of time to do so. But now with Assembly, since everything consolidated, information is no longer siloed. You can easily share information across team members. You can make decisions faster because you can pull out the information much more quicker. And the best of all, you're improving your work-life quality because everything now is more balanced. Those manual tasks will no longer occupy your time or occupy your mind, because a lot of those, like meeting minutes, meeting notes, already taken over by the AI. So you can sit with confidence to review those notes later on, share with other team members. Because myself, before Assembly, if you look on my table, there's a lot of scrap papers around with my notes. It's good that I'm taking notes, but the worst part, when I try to find something and try to find those notes and look at my own reading, I have difficult time to kind of like decipher what I wrote there. But now, again, to my point, with Assembly meeting knowledge, you can go back in time, find the detail. And I think that's just the beginning of what Assembly AI can bring to your team. Now, back to you, Maria.
Thank you, Arwin. I can definitely relate with millions of scrap pieces of paper with all my notes all over the place. And it's almost as useful as not have taken notes at all at that point.
And if I could, man, it's hard for me to sit on this kind of call and not interject. And Arwin, everything you've talked about thus far is current capability within Assembly AI. But you know me, I'm a dreamer, and I like to think about the future. And one of the things I think about, right, is we're capturing all this verbal, turning it into data, right? Turning it into text, which becomes data, and basically kind of at some point sitting somewhere in a data lake that we might be able to someday leverage something like Assembly to query across that and all of those meetings and say, and ask questions like, well, hey, I'm the PMO manager here. Which projects need my help most? Boom, and it answers that question. Or which projects should we be working on, or should we start that we're not currently running? And I know I'm a dreamer here, but I know that this kind of concept is not far away, right? Because we see it, we see the glimpses of it, and we see flashes and glimmers of it. So I just get excited like a kid at Christmas time, and I know this stuff's coming. It's gonna paradigm shift in the whole project management profession and the way we run our businesses. So sorry, I'll try to calm down now, guys.
No, that's great. Thank you, Rich. And actually, Rich, so before we close out, are you able to show the results of the poll around who is currently using AI technology for us?
Oh, for sure. And if you didn't click on that link where it's a last call, if you click on the link in the chat window, you still got time to get your vote in here for that poll. Let me now share my screen. We'll show those results. Looks like it's this one right here. So looks like we had a total of 13 different responses in the question. The first question was, hey, are you currently leveraging any AI technology? So it looks like, with respect to this, we had 69% of the people said, yeah, we're using some type of AI technology. And then the cool thing about this form here is it has branching technology. So if you said yes, then the next question popped up and it said, hey, what What is the name of the primary AI technology that you're using? So the smart cloud here, or word cloud, so that we can see the term that was mentioned the most is the largest in the center there. Hey, Alec, Arwin, looks like you got some Simile AI fans on the call and users on the call. That's good. But we can also see some other examples popping up here. And just so or I should say, since we're talking about AI and technology, this is, I'm not promoting Microsoft Forms, I'm promoting more of the technology and the capability. I don't see it here, but I have actually seen in some of the polls that I've conducted in the past using Microsoft Forms, where Microsoft Forms will actually recognize a correlation between two different questions, and it'll highlight that. It'll show you like, hey, there's a correlation between the answer on this question and the answer on this question, and I think that's pretty cool. Again, that's that technology coming into play, bringing things to light that we might not have spotted or might not have seen using our own interpretation. So yeah, thanks for the information here. As we continue to move forward with our next two workshops, we'll work to incorporate this feedback into those sessions.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And so in closing, I just want to thank all of our panelists as well as the audience for joining us today. Be sure to join us again next week and the following week for our last two sessions, as we will work to answer some of those questions that Karen reviewed earlier and the ones that you've asked today. And that's all we have for you today. Thank you all so much for joining. Remember, if you have any questions for any of our panelists, you can ask those in the questions tab. They'll get back to you after this call. And otherwise, we will see everybody next week. Thank you.